Hi and welcome back. There is a question that sometimes we ask ourselves and sometimes other people may ask us as professionals in the area of counseling or coaching, and is what happened? I have this relationship that started so well. We felt that we were one together, and then during the time and during the years we started becoming apart. And now we don't even recognize each other. Not only that, but before we were so one and everything we did was making us grow and so enjoying life. And now everything we do looks like that provoking the other the worst of each other. I know that things I do now annoys my partner, and I can tell you how many things he does or she does that annoys me in the way that I cannot explain. What has happened? In this series of videos, I'm going to share with you some point of view about what may have happened, and also what can we do about it, and from a coaching or counseling point of view. But especially if I am in a situation like that, what can I do? So let's look at the situation from this point of view. And the point of view I'm going to share with you is from the system thinking that is also connected to sociometry and the role theory. Let's look at this. Very often, or most of the time, when I connect with someone and I choose that person to be with me, but this could happen in any type of relationship. So when I meet with somebody, it's because I have a shape that is aware of what we call a complementary or a complement to complement me, and to feel that with that relationship I will grow, I will feel more complete. And it happened when I found somebody who has a shape that is complementary to me. They will fit, and in that I will find a oneness. This is what Martin Buber talks about relationships, that there are I and I. I find somebody that is like me and we complement, and we find that it's easy to be with one another. So when that happens, when reality happens inside ourselves, is that I feel that the I is meeting with the other like this. And this is what creates this relationship of oneness. And this could happen, as I mentioned before, in any type of relationship. Two people start talking and say, oh, I like talking to you. I like what you read, I like what you say, I like your opinions on this, on that. And that is usually connected philosophically, ideologically, but sometimes through music and through whatever that is important for me, and I find somebody to connect. But especially, it's very important when the connection here is also sexual. And this has another dimension of the power of the relationship, when two people connect sexually in a way that I feel the wholeness of themselves, and I feel that I provoke in the other the same. So these two people commit themselves, let's say, in a marriage. But as I mentioned before, it could be they commit themselves to participate in a religious group, in a philosophical group, in whatever thing that, whatever we have expands, and we continue feeding each other in that way. Everything is looking very good. But we don't stay in the same place where we are. We grow. And if the way we grow is not complementary to the other person, that could create a problem. So let's see what may happen. Let's look at red, for example. The person is continue growing and start looking at books that never read before. Start listening to podcasts that never read before. Start having an attention to the news in a different channel that a person used to listen to. So the interest start moving and growing in different ways. That is not just the pattern that I had before, it has a different shape, different interest, and start growing like this. Meanwhile, other person continue without change and start becoming confused. Why that person showed me now a curved connection instead of a square connection? I don't know what he or she is talking about. It's confusing because the person stays in what is known and familiar. But also, this person could start having different friends, so start a new work, start listening to different news. So that person too start looking at different things, and his shape or her shape start changing in a way that is not complementary anymore. So what one person may do, the other person may be very different. And in that case, they are growing in a way that is very different. The word is not complementary anymore. So what happened in that situation? In that situation, moving this scheme to the other scheme, we find here they both are complementing each other. But in this case, just to copy a similar page that we did, like this, and the other person is doing this. We find that there are points of contact, but I don't know if that point of contact will be positive or negative, in the sense that could be a point of encounter or a point of friction. But the more important part is the gap. Before there was a connection, now there is a gap. There is an abyss in the middle. There is a gap in the middle. And we cannot live with gaps. The brain cannot handle these holes here. So we need to fill those gaps with something. We are going to fill these gaps maybe with fear. We may fill this gap with resentment. We may also fill this gap with hope. I hope that our difference may help us to come together. This gap may fill with anger. But also this gap can be filled with addictions. And if we are talking about a relationship, this gap may be filled with another person. And that becomes more and more complicated. So, in a nutshell, very often we start relationships in a way that we complement, like an I and I relationship, using Martin Buber's language. But then we start growing in different ways, different patterns, where the relationship is not complementary any longer. The tools, the skills we had before are not longer useful. So new alternatives need to be found. In the next video, we are going to have a look at some possibilities. What can we do in these situations?